area of the hydraulic fracturing. I think we're doing pretty well in this because there's been a lot of people working, including Dave Hall's been to 3,000 meetings, and a lot of people out there understanding that this industry gives mom an opportunity to get his 34-year-old son out of their attic and actually get a job. And we think that's really important. We started working on this about 15, 16 months ago. Wayne said this is coming, it's coming hard, and I've spent a lot of time talking to industry, and we have tried to figure out how we can, at the offset, get a good regimen down so that this industry can have a solid foundation and we can move forward, and where we can also convince Ohioans that this is a safe industry. You know, I went to the basketball game with President Obama and was telling him that we believe that our regulatory environment is going to be such that we don't need the federal government to come in here. We actually have primacy on injection wells, and that's fantastic. That means that EPA in Washington, which is not all times constructive, that shows you the maturity in me, the way I said at all times not constructive, actually thinks that there are some things that we can do. And I told the President that we're going to have a regulatory format in this state. And let me be clear about it. We don't get a good regulatory format, we're not going to issue any permits. I mean, it's just that simple. And we will get it. And we're making progress now in being able to get that done. And what does that involve? It involves such things as proper regulation on the gathering lines for hydraulic fracturing. It means that we must make sure that we can do good work in terms of the high-pressure pipelines. It means that we have to be in a position of where we can have disclosure on the fluids that are used in the process of fracking. Because I have to tell you, try to jam this stuff down people's throats and you're going to fail. And I do not want the public to lose confidence in the fact that we can have strong environmental regulations that ensure the public safety. And we're working with industry to make sure that it's not overboard, but we're also not going to let it be underboard to the point where the public can feel a sense of security. And it is so important to the industry that we have ourselves in a position of where there is confidence that we've done everything that we can possibly do. And let me just give you one example. This is an awfully strange job, being governor, Cal. I mean, you know, at one moment I'm faced with lions and tigers and grizzly bears, you know, running around in a community causing, you know, potential horrible danger to the citizens there. To the next minute on New Year's Eve I get a call, I get a text message about having a tremor in Youngstown, Ohio caused by an injection well. You just never know what's coming around the corner. Scott Milburn calls it the meteor effect, you know. Just when you think things are okay, here comes another meteor. But let me tell you a little bit about that, because I think it could have created tremendous problems in the state of Ohio. We had a number of conference calls on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day to try to figure out the proper response. And what we found was that that well, that injection well, had been drilled down into the Precambrian era. The only reason I say that is I had to take geology a couple of times, and I wanted my teacher to know that I know what the Precambrian area is. This is actually brought to me by Craig Butler, who's with us today. And it was probably on a fault. And some people want to say it probably wasn't a fault. There was probably a fault in all likelihood. So we shut that well down, and we shut all wells down in a 5-mile radius. And then what we're saying is if you want to have another injection well, you can do it, but do it in an area that has been historically stable. And if you want to go and drill in an area that I would call wildcatting, then you've got to be in a position there where you've got to do the seismic imaging and everything else. You know, the quick response and the ability to be honest with the public and tell them everything we're doing, and now we've reached agreement on additional monitoring devices inside these injection wells, the public said okay. And we know that in the process of hydraulic fracturing, whether it is the destruction of roads or whether it is a potential explosion somewhere, a breach in a pipeline or whatever, that's life. It happens. The public is okay with it, I believe, as long as you've done everything possible to make sure that you've provided for safety, because everybody knows accidents happen. But we're trying to put a regimen in place that will work, and where the public will feel safe, and the companies that are the biggest companies, where we don't have a bunch of yahoos on the back of the truck causing big problems. And Jimmy Stewart is with us today. Appreciate his work, and we've got Jason Wilson out there, Democrat state senator, who's come to work for us, and he moves around and talks to the community. So it's important that we get this done. The other issue, of course, we've been fighting out here is the severance tax. I don't want all this money to escape Ohio, and our severance tax is going to be at a level that will allow us to remain very competitive, and will be able to be used to reduce our income taxes in the state that would benefit all families. You don't want to have a system here where Toledo is not in touch with what's happening, or where Cincinnati doesn't give a hoot, and on top of it, it gives us a great opportunity to have capital flowing in our institutions, in our families, in our small businesses, and in our restaurants. So where are we today? Well, we have from Chesapeake, as you got down here, I don't know how they list this out, $2.3 billion in investment. Halliburton, $150 million investment, 300 jobs. Mark West, I give them great credit, because Mr. Simmel came in and worked with us on this whole issue of pipeline regulation. They've invested $500 million, 700 construction jobs, and we are getting through that. The processors and other advanced equipment here that really takes us into the 21st century. And we're not getting the cracker. Never thought we'd get the cracker. We're not getting the cracker because we don't have the guaranteed feedstock. But what we do know is that a cracker located in the region is going to be terrific for us. And I just asked Cal Dooley and some of his friends to give us a plan for how Ohio can prepare to take advantage of a cracker facility, because with the auto industry here, it is a given that if we can find these sites where companies can locate, we can bring academia in, we can train people, that we can take advantage of all the benefits that come from a cracker facility. But we shouldn't just think, okay, well, we didn't hit a home run. Well, we hit like back-to-back triples with the kind of equipment that's being brought into this state, the kind of investment that's being done. We'll be able to separate the liquids. We'll be able to separate the gases with the facilities that we're going to have, and I'm really, really pleased about it. We also have, BP has just announced a $300 million investment. Gary Heminger, who's with us in the actions at Marathon, they're very excited. They're looking at everything that they can do. And we know that companies like V&M Star, which is an amazing, and by the way, Youngstown has unemployment levels now lower than the statewide average. That's a miracle, okay? That's a miracle, and God bless them over there. U.S. Steel in Lorraine with steel pipes, the tubing is so critical. What Timken's are doing, Timken really is they're a technology company from the standpoint of friction management, which involves oil and gas, because reducing friction in the operation of wells really makes a difference. They just made another huge investment. Republic Steel, and then Miller Supply, the Pioneer Group, Ariel Corporation. They make these big gas compressors, and now what a place that is, just up the road from us. Gorman Rupp is the pumps that they make. A lot of really, really good things happening in Ohio. So we're pleased right now. I mean, we just have to get the rest of this work done. And when we get it done, I think we'll be stable, and it will continue to be safe for companies to come in and invest, and our folks will get work. And it will become part of our overall portfolio for economic development in the state of Ohio. And AB, the only message to you is this. Carry this back to all your friends at Fox News. I think the philosophy of common sense regulation, paying attention to things like worker safety, environmental concerns, and all that, all can be accommodated with reasonable regulation, where you don't bend rules just to satisfy anybody, but you also have to listen to the practical problems that people have, try to solve them, making it less costly for people to do business. And that is not inconsistent, by the way, with what we're talking about with a modernized severance tax. and to be able to control your fiscal situation so you can have predictability and better credit. That's a prescription for success. And I just can't, well, I can understand. We're all kind of divided now. And there's three things that I think they need to do in Washington. One is we need to modernize the entitlement programs so they are 21st century. And the good example here is if mom and dad want to stay at home, not go to a nursing home at a fifth of the cost where they can do it, we let them do it. That's a 21st century modernization. It should have been done in the 20th century. It makes a lot of sense. So we need to upgrade those programs. Secondly, we've got to educate our children. I mean, 40% of our high school graduates are in remedial programs, and we have not been able to connect business in a fully integrated way. And I encourage you to talk to the Timkins about this, who take 10th and 11th graders into their company. They train them, they work with them, they excite them, they get a 2-year degree, then they get a 4-year degree, they're engineers, and now they're making tons of money. We've got to educate our children in a real way and not just keep talking about it. And finally, we need a rejuvenation of the Jewish and Christian tradition in our country, where life is not just about me. It's not about what I can get and everything's for me. It's about something bigger than that. It's about thinking about the community, thinking about your neighbor. And by the way, in the course of doing all this and saving this money, we have been able to help the mentally ill, the developmentally disabled, and the extreme poor. That was our mission. We're getting it done, and hopefully someday the people down in Washington will at least take a look at what we're doing, and maybe they'll even adopt some of it, Cal. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. I hope I didn't go too long. God bless you, and we'll see you the next time.